Hi friends, Pastor Terry Lee here, Okotoks Alliance Church, and this is the 10-Minute Coach. We're in a series we're calling The Big Picture, Genesis through Revelation, the story of God among us. A number of different places that you might go. This coming Sunday, we will be stepping into the Gospels. So we've spent 8 weeks in the Old Testament, and we've been following this thread, and that's one of the things I'm going to encourage you to do in your life group or in your family time around the dinner table as you discuss Scripture together, and maybe go back to the Gospels and talk about some of the things we discussed or will discuss this coming Sunday, did discuss, depending on when you're watching this video. And let me just give you a few suggestions of places that you might go with the conversation that could be helpful. These kind of conversations really depend on you, us, whoever's leading the discussion or helping kind of steer the discussion, making a reasonable assessment of who's present and where are they at spiritually and kind of what's their biblical knowledge and understanding. You can have a phenomenal conversation with young children about the Gospels and how they present Jesus, and you can have a phenomenal conversation with someone who's a Bible scholar, has been for years, and you can have a wonderful conversation with people who really don't know the Bible very well, and maybe they're adults and they're feeling a little bit embarrassed about that. Be sensitive and just find ways to kind of not assume knowledge that you or someone who's been in the Scriptures intentionally longer. Don't assume knowledge that you maybe have, they don't have, and just to see whether you can kind of find ways to invite them to ask questions and carry forward. I just make a little pitch for the book that I've been recommending since September, and that is Dr. Don Carson's book, The God Who Is There, Finding Your Place in God's Story. It's about a 10-year-old book, I think. It was published in 2010. And Carson is a fabulous New Testament scholar, highly reliable, and he's basically doing what we're doing, but in far greater detail. Genesis, not quite through Revelation. He doesn't. He gets more topical toward the end of the book. It's a fabulous way, especially if you can do it in discussion with somebody. Agree with a friend. Let's read this book together, and then let's talk about it. Read a couple of chapters, talk about it. Read a couple of chapters, talk about it, and no big agenda. Just talk. Make some highlights. Maybe you remember in high school when they were encouraging you to explore the skills of annotation. Highlight stuff. Make notes in the margin. Come back to those notes, and then discuss them. So that's a great way to encourage someone else in their growth. We're called to be disciples, followers of Jesus, who make disciples. And so what you're doing with your family, what you're doing with your life group, what you could be doing one-on-one with a friend, could be that a very significant part of that process of working with Jesus as he makes disciples. Our app, the Okotoks Alliance Church smartphone app, has this in mind. The up, in, out that Pastor Craig has explained by video is very much intended to help you in your upward relationship toward God, in your inward relationship with the people around you, and in the out relationship as we share our faith with others. And so we've got some stuff the bridge diagram, the 4 spiritual laws. I'm not sure if we've got the link up yet for the Alpha courses, the Alpha Film Series videos. So you can actually on your phone, sitting in a restaurant or something like that, do the Alpha course with someone. This week we're in the Gospels, and on the back of the sermon notes, I mentioned the OAC smartphone app, in part because you can download the sermon notes straight to your app as a PDF file, and you look at them there, look at them on your tablet, anything like that. On the questions that are on the back of the sermon notes, I've kind of taken us into a little further discussion rather than just trying to rehash what we discussed on Sunday, because the reality is we could spend weeks and months in any one of the Gospels, and here in one 30-minute sermon I'm trying to cover all 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The Synoptic Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke. The Gospel of John is distinctive. We talked about that on Sunday. If you wanted to dig a little bit more, on the back of the sermon notes I have been putting a link to the Bible Project, and they have an overview series that kind of does one book of the Bible at a time. I've just given you the Gospel of Mark there, but once you go there, your browser is going to, it's a YouTube video. Normally they're 5 to 8, maybe 9 minutes long, and once you go there, your browser is going to pull up the other options. Oh, you want Matthew? How about, or you're in Mark? How about Matthew? Matthew's done in 2 videos. Luke's done in 2 videos. I think, the Gospel of John is done on 2 videos as well. So there's lots of material there. There are illustrations that just do an 8-minute overview of that portion of the Gospel, at least, and it can be a wonderful educational thing. So it's the kind of thing with your kids, even. Pull it up on your laptop or on a tablet. Pull it up on your TV if you've got the technology, and watch the video. They are really, really well done and super insightful, and it might be a helpful thing. You could do that as part of your life group time, or you could do it in advance so that you've got sort of some of that additional information there. And I've just kind of poked with some questions here. Why do you think God left us with 4 Gospels? So I'm assuming that God in His sovereignty has superintended the writing and then the preservation of His holy scriptures for us, for our benefit. Why are there 4 versions of the life of Jesus? I think there's a lot of really interesting kind of conversation to go on around there, because there's benefits, and there are also I guess you could call it disadvantages. People have slammed the Gospels as being inconsistent, as having contradictions, because sometimes the Gospel stories, the accounts, don't immediately seem to line up with one another. And frankly, it's just invited deeper study to say, well, do they line up? Are they telling the same story? One of the things that we struggle with as modern readers of ancient literature is often the way they thought about telling a story is not how we want the story to be told. They will tell the story, and they'll even import an idea from here or there in order to kind of make the point, and they're not so concerned as to whether or not it's in historical sequence. When I tell stories, I want A and then B and then C and then what happened in the next year, and I want it all in historical sequence, and we don't necessarily get that in the Gospels. So there's some of the strengths and the weaknesses, and I think a place to spend some time here, though, is where do you find yourself in the Gospels? It may be relative to the people of the Gospels. We talked about the religious leaders, we talked about the crowd, we've talked about the disciples. The Gospel writers are calling us to find ourselves in this story and to identify with these different people in different ways. I hope you don't identify with the Pharisees, although most of us have to say there are times when I feel I'm just being a Pharisee right now. That's what's going on. I am being judgmental. I am being harsh. I'm being punitive. I think in this whole COVID reality and the mask wearing, not wearing mask, all that kind of stuff, holy smokes, that's difficult, is it not? And we find ourselves judging people who aren't thinking about it all the way we are thinking about it. And it has the potential to be a very devastating and very destructive thing for us as a church, for us as a community. I'm grateful for the general unity that I feel like our church family is walking in, but we don't take that for granted, and we need to continue to encourage that unity as we walk together. But there's that Pharisaical approach, the crowds. There's this constant calling of the crowds to identify who Jesus is. Who do you say He is? You've heard His teaching. How are you going to respond? You've seen Him do miracles. What are you going to do with that? I think this invitation for us to be responsive is a super important one. And among the 12, even the difference between the 72, the 12, the 3. So there may well be some things you can explore there together in your discussions. And then the sort of the third major area of questions that I put in the back of the sermon notes is this: can you recreate the thread we've been describing from Genesis? Now it's to the Gospels. We've not gotten to Revelation yet, but it would be really helpful, to just test ourselves. Doing it together in a group can be wonderful because you can remember a part that I forgot, and we share it together, and then, oh yeah, okay, we got it here, and we're kind of putting the sequence together. So the sequence is one thing, the timeline. But then the reason for the sequence, or the teaching thread, the promise of God in there is another thing. So then that leads me just to the last thing here before I wrap up, and that is if any of the timelines that I've used while I'm teaching, or any of the maps that I've shown are helpful to you, don't hesitate to ask me for them. In some cases I'll send you to the link. In other cases I'll just send them to you because it's something I've created myself. And glad to share that with you if it's helpful. I've had a couple of people ask me that over the last couple of weeks. So just drop me an email, terryl@okalliance.ca, and I'll be glad to interact with you. So this is the 10-Minute Coach. We're in the Gospels in our Big Picture series, and I hope this is helpful to you as you host some conversation around the dinner table with your life group, your small group, maybe with someone that you're having a cup of coffee or tea with in person or virtually. Bless you. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.